I came out of the U of O, Lundquist College of Business, and was able to get a job into Goldman Sachs. I did not take a traditional path. I wasn't pulled out of a recruiting pipeline. They weren't coming and recruiting from here, but instead I had to find a side channel. Lundquist put me in touch with people within this community to then go start my understanding of what the finance framework really was. So I started having lots of conversations with people to say, well, what is it you really do? What does that mean? What kind of area are you connected to? And that made it so when I did go and was able to get an interview at Goldman, I actually understood more about what I was interviewing to do and what I liked about it and what I was good at. It hooked me up much closer to be able to answer their questions because everyone else they were interviewing was coming straight out of a program that had much more of a pipeline into it. Thankfully, that's changed some. There's a lot more students going to places like that. But at the time, that was a little harder. From Goldman, I was then able to pivot into other jobs within that kind of finance. So from Goldman to Credit Suisse, I transitioned from options research at Goldman, where I was in sell-side research. I pivoted into risk management. When I was at Credit Suisse, the assumption was if you understand options, you understand risk. I then got recruited from Credit Suisse to go into hedge funds. I spent most of my career as a senior risk manager, junior risk manager, and now the chief risk officer of hedge funds. Had a couple other stops along the way there, but the real piece coming out of school was finding a way into that first interview, setting it up so when I went into that interview, I understood the types of questions they're going to ask me and also understood the area of the industry I was going into. And it made it so that by the time I was going to that interview, I was ready for it. The other piece I'd highlight around that is Lundquist gave me a lot of opportunities to test my interview. I showed up to lots of mock interviews. I came into lots of those sessions where there were 40 or 50 different companies in the room. One of the things I did that I was encouraged to do was I went and took lots of interviews. So I interviewed for a lot of jobs that I was definitely never going to take or be offered, but it made it so that I understood that process. By the time I went to the interview I cared about, all those initial questions were easy. All those, who are you? Why are you here? What are you doing here? Tell me your story. So by the time I was in that interview, I could get all that out of the way and focus on the thing they really wanted to hear about me. Why was I different? How was I going to be good for that role? Why did I really want it? And why did I think they wanted me? But as a student looking at this, like prepping for those first things so that by the time you have the interview you care about, you're not nervous and scared, you're ready for it, you're prepared. One of the things I started doing when I was a student was I found a relationship with certain professors. And I said, look, I'm going to prove to you, that professor, that I'm worth you taking a shot on with your network. And so I found a few professors that said, you should go talk to this other person. Let me help you with that. And that's hard. I'm not trying to say one professor or another should be doing that all the time, but that type of relationship really helps. So what really helped for me was I was able to get an internship. And when I was in that internship, I found someone there who I worked with, but I got them to say, I'm willing to take a chance on you. I'm willing to put my name next to your name. And I'm willing to call someone else that I know and take a shot and say, you should talk to me. As a result, I was able to get a side door interview into Goldman because would I have passed the initial screens? No, I came from a non-target school. I wasn't the person they were explicitly looking for. They were looking for kids that were within a 4-hour drive of their headquarters because they could. And there were a lot of people who had the skills, had the expertise, and came from those schools. So why would they bother looking further? But because I found someone who I had shown I could do good work and shown I was committed and excited about, they were willing to say, let me take this shot on that person. So that's the piece I would advise people if you're trying to get into that. It's that if you do good work at the things you're doing, someone will recognize that and say, I want to be referenced next to this person. And if you're the person that they want to be referenced next to, they will go out of their way to help you find something and help you get that hook. You've found the thing they need. You've made someone else go, I want to see where this person goes. Then they're going to take a shot on helping you and pushing you further. And that gives you your chance, right? That gives you your hook into the next step. You're setting them up for greater success because they look at you and go, I want to be connected to this person going forward. And the woman who was my reference for that, like, I still email with her. She's still like, how are you doing? What's going on? Because she's still excited that she helped me make that first step. If you can find that opportunity, take it. When I get a student reaching out to me, I almost always take the call, but I'll tell the student on the call, hey, I will help you in the future. Follow up with me. but you need to follow up with me. I'm not calling you back. Like, I got a job. Don't get me wrong, we had this call, but I will forget your name in 5 minutes. Not personal. I got other stuff to do. My payback was to do this call. But if you call me back in 6 months and say, hey, Rayne, we spoke before. This is what you told me. This is where I am now. What do you think now? Like, I will try to help with that. Find a reason why they want to talk to you. If a buddy of mine reaches out and said, I met this undergrad, I really think it would be helpful to you to speak to them, I will universally say yes. People are more willing to give a little bit of their time to help someone, I think, if you just ask. But they'll give you 0 minutes of their time if you never ask them. But you also don't want to send out that message being like, hi, you're at Goldman, Goldman's cool, give me an interview because I want it. You need to go out and say, I see where you came from. I also came from a place like that. I would like to engage with you. Can you help me? At this stage, it's a very one-sided transaction. What I'm really getting at is it's okay to ask. They're definitely not going to do it if you don't ask. Once you do ask and once they do take the time, just make the most of it and be respectful of their time. One of the big things at the end, though, is saying, do you have someone else you think I should speak to? And that's a hard thing to ask for, but it's the best thing to ask for. With the type of person you want to speak to, I'll think about it and I'll maybe introduce you to 1 or 2 people. And again, that's a gate I put up because I'm like, if you don't send me the follow-up email, I'm definitely not introducing you. But if you do, now I have it. And I might say, give me the 3-sentence explanation of who you are. Make it as easy for me as possible. Send me exactly what I'm supposed to send. And now I'm using my credit with that person to get you a conversation. I work in finance. At the time, I went to the head of the endowment at the school and said, hi, you know all these people. Who should I talk to? And he was like, okay, I'll hook you up with 4 people that we do business with. So they're definitely going to talk to you. As a result, I was able to get those conversations. So find that hook, go for it, do it. I have big red flags for people who don't ask questions. I'll almost always say, what questions do you have for me? It's a gating question because A, if you say, I have no questions for you, I'm like, well, you didn't read anything about what this job is. You're just interviewing for jobs. I want them to want this job, not a job. And then the other one is, if their first questions are, how much time off will I get? And how do I get promoted? And what's my path to like my next stage of the career? I'm like, okay, they don't want this job. They just want a thing that will get them those benefits. We all do. That's okay. But I'm looking for someone to solve as a hiring manager. I'm looking for someone to come in and solve my problem now. And I have a pool of literally 1,000 people who are trying to do that. The trade is, you will help me fulfill this problem, solve this problem. I will help you make your career better. They're not asking you so that you can teach them, but they're asking you so they can hear how you think. Ask me questions about the company, the role, why is it structured this way? Who else is on the team? Go to the hiring manager and be like, hey, I looked up your LinkedIn profile and I see you were at this other firm before. What's the difference in the culture at that firm versus this firm? That is such a cliched and yet awesome question because it makes me think about my career, which makes me nostalgic and thoughtful. And I want to give you an answer about it. And now I'm selling you on my firm. I know I have a different skill set around how I see information flows working. And I'll talk to other people who do this professionally, and I know I'm different than them. I see it in a different way. I recognized early on in my career that I was able to do that and then started to isolate where does that kind of skill set propagate. So I first worked at Goldman in options research. Doing that process was like, that was major math. That flow had to happen to do our job. I very quickly became the person who oversaw that flow to make my boss's job easier. So she could now focus on doing her job, not overseeing things she didn't care about. My next job, maybe I'll find the part of the job that is doing that. I've done risk management at hedge funds. A whole lot of that is just organizing information. So I figured out that I was good at that so I could solve this problem. What I encourage you to do in classes, internship, those first few jobs, find the thing you are a little better at than everyone else that you hopefully also enjoy, and then go look for another way to do that more. Take the 3 things at your current job that you hate and don't do them. Don't go to another job that includes those. Through each stage of my career, I chopped off stuff that I hated and was bad at and did less of it. I could fill my time and energy with the thing I was better at than other people. You're gonna have to do some stuff you hate no matter what. But the more you can minimize that and focus on the things that you're good at, and the things that you like, and the things that you are slightly more talented at. That first job, you're going to have to do a whole bunch of crap you hate. But you might find a couple things in there you really like and that you're better at, and you can refine your career path. A lot of people think that you're coming out of the U of O, you have to be tied to this city or this part of the country. You don't get me wrong, going to another part of the country is hard. But if that's what you want to do, do it. Move to New York with an interview and a small amount of money, and some friends would let me sleep on their floors. That sucked and scary, but like it worked out. If your career takes you to another place, take that shot. And also, you're young. If it doesn't work out, you can move, right? You go somewhere else. So you should think about it as like, this is an experiment. I'm going to go try this. Go try. And you might realize, you might be like, I like it here. This is good for me. Or you might go, this sucks. I hate it. I should go look for a job somewhere else and know that. Because you're never going to know unless you give that shot.